everybody, it's week 5 of Global Music Match, and here today we're interviewing this week's featured artists who are 12th Day, Essa and Katrina. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining
Hey
us.
guys.
Hi
Hi,
guys.
lovely to see you guys too. Thanks for having us.
How you doing? How's life?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, not too bad. Although we heard last night about the new restrictions,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a downer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult. Are you in a local lockdown area? Where are you? I mean,
Well, we're in Edinburgh and Glasgow, so yeah, they're like slightly different rules, I think, in Scotland at the moment. We're not allowed to travel.
You
We're
can't
not allowed to
go
visit each
outside.
other, but we are at work, so it's fine.
At
yes, of
work.
course you are. Yeah. Are you going to be able to do any gigs then going forward, do you think, or is it kind of put the stop on everything?
We didn't really have many at all anyway, but we're keeping going with our Patreon and stuff like that. We've got a Patreon gig on Friday this week, the second,
Right.
so that will happen, and yeah, I guess life is just going to continue online for a bit longer.
Yeah, there's been like a few local things sort of popping up in Edinburgh, especially during August, because everyone was missing the festival. But
But
yeah,
now with the rule of six, they probably can't even
I
happen.
know. Yeah, no, it was really nice. It sort of felt like a local busked version of the festival at times in the
Yeah.
meadows in
Yeah.
Edinburgh,
Yeah. I
but
sort of
yeah,
wonder
everything.
if this is going to make things a bit more spontaneous because I guess it's the same for you guys. We tend to get booked up years in advance, and actually that element of spontaneity is really nice. Like, oh, the weather's nice this
Yeah,
weekend. Let's do something outside. That's quite a good.
Yeah.
totally. I think the whole outdoor thing is going to have a whole new perspective because of this. I feel like people are taking it seriously now. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to hear live music, then you have to be outdoors and like be creative with how you like make a concert or make an event outdoors.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's lovely that, but it's just the worrying side of it is just like earning a living, of course, and I hope we get supported by the government and
Yeah.
in a real way, because it's like I was talking to my friend last night who's an orchestral musician, and she was like, there's it's really nice meeting up in a park to play string quartets with your friends, but that's not why I'm in this job.
Yeah.
I'm in this job to like sit in a concert hall with like
Yeah.
the people at the top of their game and give music to the people, and you can't do that in a park.
No.
It's just
It's
not
just a different
possible.
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tricky, but we're gonna. Yeah, I hope that my big hope is that it exposes the stuff that isn't going well in our industry. That yes, that it exposes the flaws in our industry and also in society in general, and hopefully people will things will
Yeah.
change. But I guess that's all you can do is sort of have hope at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I think it not only exposes the flaws, but exposes the positives. It's like I feel like I've been doing a run of garden gigs in around Edinburgh, and yeah, I just have this like totally new feeling of gratitude, and I feel that from the people I've been playing to as well, like
Yeah.
this um, like just communication and is I feel like more aware of than ever because I've had this big gap of it, and I just see how much they're appreciating it, and I really vibe off that, and yeah, like I really feel so grateful for being able to do that and having an audience, and
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
once we're able to get back to it next year, hopefully,
it's
then
gonna feel
we're all just gonna we've got a whole new lease
perspective.
of,
Yeah.
of
I think you're
perspective, and
absolutely right. It's a really interesting thing, isn't it? I ended up doing a thing for a local theatre company who they're just great and they've got funding, so they were like, we're going to try and do something despite COVID, and did this show where we basically went round to people's doorsteps and did a little bit of music and a little bit of theatre
Oh,
storytelling for them, and
that's awesome.
it was quite profound because it was like it was a demographic that I have never managed to play to before. It was people who probably never really go to gigs, and
Yeah.
the reaction, I was really astounded, like the kind of depth of people's emotion and the way they connected was like, I think people are realizing it's a bit of hole in their lives because
Yeah,
they
Mm.
are missing music. So yeah, that
yeah,
is a
and
positive. You're right.
Have you
yeah, and hopefully,
working with your subscribers on Patreon? Have you found that a positive experience as well? It's a kind of an opportunity to build relationships with your audience in a different way, isn't it? In a kind of more personal way, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
that's a
lovely.
good point. Like the personal side of that is something that I think initially we were a bit skeptical about, but now we're just quite enjoying it because it's a chance for us to talk about our musical inspirations on our Patreon page and share like our thoughts about what we're reading because we have this like recommendation thing that we do every month as well, and for us to keep playing together, and it's also just really nice to feel supported during this time by
Yeah,
your
And I think as
fans.
well for our followers, like we recognise that it was a hole in their lives that they couldn't go to gigs, and the people who tend to subscribe on Patreon are like the ones who it is a big part of their lives going to gigs, and I think for them it's a lovely thing to like, as you say, the personal side, just feel like that they can properly connect with the artists while they can't go and have a chat with them after the gig, or just feel close to artists in this time.
yeah, yeah. It's important, isn't it? It's a strange time, but I think it is kind of important to keep like welcoming the innovations that it's bringing as well. So it's tough.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think another thing that we've really enjoyed with Patreon, because obviously like we're all self-employed and you could just be floating around with infinite time but actually not knowing what to do, and it's been great to have deadlines. It's been, and actually Global Music Match has been good for that as well, just to have something that needs doing by that day. So that's been, yeah, been
Some
useful.
regularity,
Yeah,
like knowing what day of the week it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So to
What
take
day
it
is it?
to take it back a bit, how did you guys meet? How did you guys start playing music?
Well, we actually met at school. We were both at St Mary's Music School, which is here in Edinburgh. Well, Kat came in when you were 16, and I was there from when I was wee because I was a chorister actually. And then we went to study together in Manchester and lived together for a couple of years, and we just ended up like through this like very niche education that we both like managed to have together. We ended up having all of these shared experiences and being able to like have this kind of common language of music, and like we both had lots of folk in our blood and in our childhoods, and we also had this like classical thing that was what we were studying at the time. And we also lived together, and we were going through, like the growing up, the whole growing up thing, and so yeah, we just like
We won't go into any details.
growing up, and so yeah, we just had this like so many shared experiences that we've drawn on in all our writing since then, and we also had this like quite unique opportunity to explore. So we were quite experimental, I'd say, at college.
Yeah, because we had no pressure to go out and earn money straight away, because we started playing together like at the start of our 4 years of college. So it was just like this gradual process of like, what are we doing here? What. And we started just doing little tunes and songs and stuff, and then it just developed into like, okay, no, we want to find a sound here. We want. And then we did this album in our 4th year at college, just with our friend engineering it. We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We just recorded an album in 2 days.
Wow.
And it was that's not on the merch desk anymore. That's very, but it was a great learning experience, because we were able just to go with all of our ideas,
Yeah,
and then
without the pressure.
afterwards afterwards figure out what we wanted to keep, what we wanted to change, and then by the time it came to make our next record, it was like, okay, we know what we want to sound like now.
Yeah.
But it was a privilege to have all that time to
Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to actually just be able to make loads of mistakes, you know, and in the safety of music college, and like just go through all of the options, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you think, I don't know if you actually consciously think about this, but how do you kind of marry the folk and classical traditions? You're obviously really immersed in both of them. Does it just kind of come out like that, or do you consciously go, right, we're gonna, have this bit from there and this bit from there? And how do you mix it
I
up?
think
think it,
I feel like sometimes the glue between the folk and classical is all of our other influences. So we both grew up listening to a lot of pop music. We're also influenced by jazz music, other folk music from around the world, loads of African music and stuff like that. And also in the RNCM, it's a great venue as well. So there were always like really multi-genred artists coming through the college, so we were hearing lots of different things. So I guess like between the classical and the folk, you've got all this other stuff, and we don't really think about how to marry everything up. We just
Yeah.
sort of try and write what comes out naturally. And
I think also I'd say it's because of our like the way that we've grown up. You know, we've had this, like when we were at St Mary's, we had folk stuff, and we also met each other and had the shared folk background, and we also were surrounded by classical. And then at college, like we just kept that up, didn't we? So we were sort of on this trajectory already, if you know what I mean. And yeah, it wasn't a conscious thing. It was our kind of world that we were immersed in at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny coming out of that into the real world, and it's like, oh yeah,
People want to
that's
put you in a
quite niche.
box, don't they? People
yeah,
want to have
Yeah,
a label and so what are you? And I think like it's quite similar with what we do. We just listen to lots of different music, and somewhere in your brain it all gets mixed up, and then it comes out sounding like it sounds. But
yeah.
I wondered if there are any artists who are like particularly important to you or particular influences on your
well,
work.
I think like the artists that we always look to for like encouragement and inspiration is Bjork, because she's just does not care. She's not going to fit in anyone's box, and she's managed to still somehow stay mainstream and
Yeah, and
stay like
Icelandic as well. She's very
yeah.
much like, like I feel like she celebrates Icelandic music all the time as well.
Definitely, she just
Icelandic
celebrates.
culture.
She's always exploring and always putting new stuff into her music, but she's somehow still managed to like be in the charts. And I think she's one of the few artists who, not that that's what we're necessarily aiming for, but like I think she's one of the few artists who have managed to stay individual in, but also
Yeah.
just been really prolific and big.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean as well, and very, she doesn't compromise, does she? It's
Exactly.
it might, and yet, like you say, still mainstream. And something that I came across listening to your songs was the amount of kind of activist concerns in your songs, like environmentalism and feminism and stuff. And I think that's fantastic. It's definitely stuff I like to write about too. But I just wondered how much you think sort of music can, in the real world, affect change.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been working on our identity as like a sort of political band, as well as being entertainers. And I feel like it's a difficult balance, because we want to encourage people to listen to our music, of course, and make sure they feel welcome. And the world of folk music has loads of different types of people, which is brilliant. I think it's quite open. It's quite. I hope it's quite welcoming. I mean, there's work to be done, I think, in all genres to welcome diversity. But I think it's like pushing people kind of just enough, but still making them feel welcome. So we try and have like an element of humour or tongue in cheek with quite a lot of our material. And yeah, like we we try and take ourselves quite lightly in our sort of lyrics and our like performing and
like trying to approach these heavy subjects with an element of lightness.
Yeah.
Trying to get that balance, you know, because. But in answer to your question of how much can music affect change, I think it's just like, you know, it's such a difficult one because we would never be like, okay, we're going to change the world with this song, but we feel like it's our job as artists to comment on what's happening in a way that hopefully is approachable for people.
Yeah.
And just to offer our perspective of something.
And I guess that question in itself is what we're always trying to like ask ourselves as well. It's like so great to just ask yourself that question regularly and think about how much your work affects change and how much you want it to affect change. And
I think the thing is, like, we have got a platform where people are listening. I agree, like, I don't think people want to come to gigs and be lectured, but equally I think you want songs with content that means something to you. So if it's something you care about, you have to say something, don't you? And so I think your approach is a really good one, and if it makes one person go away and think about it and, you know, look up.
It's great.
Exactly.
I know, like, personally, when I go to a gig, I want to leave with my mind expanded a bit, you know, or like I want them to like plant a kernel of something in my head. I don't just want to hear something I've heard before.
Yeah.
So
I think something we're aware of as well is not like to lecture people, as you say, in a kind of like, this is what you're doing wrong, because we're like very flawed. You know, we don't want to come across as any kind of authority on these subjects, you know, so it's like we try and be like, reflective in our songwriting, I guess.
So what sorry, I'm totally taking over here.
That's all right.
I'm the talker. I was going to ask, what is your
I'll
song?
put my hand up when I want to ask a question.
Okay. What is your songwriting process? Do you have a particular process, and do you write together or separately, or how does that work?
Well, we initially will discuss sort of like a theme, a topic that we're interested in, because we talk about so many things. We did before lockdown in the van on tour and stuff.
Our journeys are usually like, listen to a podcast and then discuss it for an hour. Listen to another podcast, then discuss that one.
Or talk about something that, you know, one of us has been through.
Yeah.
And discuss it for an hour.
Yeah. The timer is on. No. And I guess that's how all of our ideas for themes of songs come about, through these big discussions, and we're very close friends as well as being colleagues, so we have like a lot of shared experiences and we know what each other are going through all the time, so that really helps, I think, in when you're writing together and being open and being confident to share all of your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a vulnerable kind of position to be in, isn't it? I think I would always feel that I would want to know the person quite well and really trust them before being able to do that, actually.
Yeah, it is a vulnerable thing to do.
Because it's intertwined with ego and letting that go and being ready to change and accept things and like maybe not be completely comfortable with something but change your mind.
I think that's something that we've learned over the years. It's like it's to want the other to change our minds, you know what I mean? Like we want each other to expand each other's minds. And I think that's a really nice approach to have. Just like, okay, tell me, like, give me something that I haven't thought of myself. And in answer to your question, it is everything's very collaborative. So we'll like get a theme, and then one of us will usually divvy up. Right, you go and think about that. You go and think about that, and then we'll get an initial idea and pass it over at a very early stage.
And we like to talk
the other
about
can critique it as much as they want or put their own stamp on it, and then we always feel as connected as each other to everything.
And we like to talk about, like, if one of us has an idea, then we have like a really thorough discussion about all of the kind of content of the idea. So like the music in terms of like the tunes, the harmony, the rhythm, the lyric style, like the general feeling, and yeah, we're as thorough as we can be in that
especially
initial
when we know,
discussion.
yeah, especially when we know that we're writing a body of work like an album, just to make sure that there's variety as well. We'll maybe like jot down at quite an early stage all of the ideas and all of the different moods and how the just check that there's variety there, and not that we've got, just check that we've not got like 8 comedy songs, you know what I mean? or like
Yeah,
8
or
really
also
slushy songs.
check that there's commonality, you know, because it's nice to have thematic. Like, I think it's quite, yeah, nice to have a running theme through an album. And
I love that it always seems to come, because we've never really written a concept album, but at the end the common themes sort of come out.
Yeah.
And I think that's always going to happen, isn't it, when you write a bunch of stuff all at the same time?
Yeah.
Just because of the phase of life that you're in at that time, it's always going to, common themes are always going to come out.
Yeah, I definitely like an album better when it has got that sense of unity to it. Like that's why actually I like to have an album and look at the artwork, the thing as a whole, rather than just dot around on Spotify.
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah, it's so
it's a
special
moment in time,
hearing
isn't it?
someone's like entire, you know, concept. It's such a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've just made a new album, is that right?
Yeah, well, it'll be a year old in November, which is weird because obviously this year's been
Doesn't feel like a year.
Yeah.
So did you approach this album differently? We noticed that it's like a full band album. Is that the first time you've recorded with a full band, or was it a departure to do it in that way?
Yeah, this is the first time we added drums and bass as sort of part of the core sound of the album, and basically our thought was that they would just sort of shadow what was already there. So we already heard drums and bass in the material before, I think, even, and in the material certainly on this album, and so it was nice to not feel like we had to do it ourselves, like be the drums and bass ourselves, on the harp and the violin. So
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Constantly compensating like that because
yeah,
it's like constantly filling out the rhythm section.
yeah. But it was
Yeah,
such a
that's
nice
cool.
process, like writing the parts for the drums and bass, and really as well, because we knew when we started writing the album that this is what we wanted to do. So it was interesting approaching the songs with that in mind and thinking about our parts slightly differently to how we normally
Yeah.
would. Because Esther is always having to think a lot about the bass line, and that this time she could think about the chords more and filling out the mid part, and the bass was already covered, and that was a nice thing.
Yeah,
wasn't
and
it?
it's really liberating performing like that. It's like so much less stressful.
Yeah, so much. You can actually think about the performance side a little bit more rather than
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the album, we decided to go for all of the sort of bigger songs, like the singles, and the main songs are with band, so about half of the album, and then for the more intimate tracks, we still did it with duo, and we actually used 2 different spaces to get that different sound as well. So we recorded the duo tracks in like a concert hall, with a big natural acoustic, and then the band ones were in the studio in Castle Sound up here in Scotland. So it was a lovely, really enjoyed doing it that way. And
Yeah, and it was self-produced, the album. Our previous album was produced by Chris Wood, which was amazing. But yeah, we wanted to do this one self-produced and really think about the production, which was a new experience for us, and showed up some of our organisational.
we had
Holes.
spreadsheets.
Wow.
We had lots of lists.
Yeah.
But it was like a really. It was a really, I think, because we always have a very clear idea of what we want our music to sound like. So we thought, right, let's try and produce it ourselves, and because I think we felt confident that we could do it, and I'm glad we did. I would like to work with a producer again, having done it that way now, just from a perspective of having another set of ears and having somebody else who's responsible for thinking about everything, because I think that's the difficult thing about self-producing, because you're obviously trying to think about your own performance, but you have to have an overview of everything as well. So
the responsibility.
Yeah. But we're so proud of the album, and it's so nice to have made that and just feel like, I'm happy for that to represent us for the next few years. And
well, congratulations. We think it's beautiful. It's really stunning, and you're amazing musicians.
Oh, thank you.
You too. We love your music, and I love your singing so much.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic to chat to you both. Thanks for taking the time, and to get to know you through Global Music Match. So
it's been so nice. We've met before, haven't we? I think, did we meet at Cambridge Folk Festival or something a few years ago?
Oh yeah, I think maybe we did.
In person.
Yeah.
But we'll need to meet properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great to be speaking to people in the same time zone as well, so that I couldn't get confused and
yes,
the interview time.
I know.
Yeah.
Each other is slightly higher. So.
Poor Dharma Finches. We just had an interview with them, and for them it was an early evening, and it was like 7 p.m. or something. Yeah. They've been doing these like 11 p.m. slots.
Yeah, it's tough. We got our time wrong when we did our interview with them, didn't we?
We did.
Got confused. So
it's easily done.
It's so easily done. We need to all have a pint in a pub ASAP after this. I feel like it's been so great. I love Team 9.
Yeah,
it's just so
Nice team, isn't it? Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we were thinking we need to just make a big world tour.
Yeah, just stop off at everyone's bits.
Yes.
Yeah,
perfect.
but we're saying to Charmer Finches we need a snappier title than Team 9.
Yeah,
We need to work on that. Don't know if that's going to sell many tickets.
Charm of Edge, Day, Gunning,
West.
Suvi.
Half of everyone's names doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
Oh well, guys, thanks so much for talking to us, and we will look forward to meeting you in person very soon, I hope.
Yeah, so lovely to chat, guys. See you soon.
Take care.